Hey YouTube. The reason why I'm doing this video is because God's been dealing with me with so many different things. We have dominion going on. And God was like revealing the word to me, prefix, affix, suffixes, and stuff like that. And we have do, minimum, outer. We have minion, minimum, outer. And then we're dealing with selflessness, which is selfless. We're dealing with so many different things that are attacking the people. I'm even reviewing the word Nimrod. For some weird reason, God was like putting that on me, and I had wrote it in reverse, and it says board minimum. I'm thinking to myself because when I rewrote it, it's BOR, and it got MIN, board minimum, and Nimrod was the place where this was the king in which built the Tower of Babel. And for some weird reason, it was a state of confusion, and the Tower of Babel, people walked away in confusion. But for some weird reason, that story struck me as odd because I'm starting to think about it. Maybe even at the Tower of Nimrod, where he was building the Tower of Babel, that confusion took place because of other people wanting certain things, and even there they probably went into war. I'm looking at dominion, do minimum out of, and I remember going through a time in my life where I was told to do less, don't do more than what I'm supposed to do. And God had been dealing with me with that because he was like, okay, you're doing less. I have plans to exalt you. You're doing the bare minimum. I have plans to expand you. You have to do more for this expansion. You have to do more for your growth. You have to do more towards what you want to be. You have to do more in the ministry, more. And here I am dealing with do minimum and want dominion. And some people think dominion is authority, but I'm starting to realize that dominion isn't authority. It's you doing less up under somebody else. So people are screaming for authority, thinking that they're getting authority. No, you're getting exactly what a puppeteer would want you to get, which is you doing less up under somebody else. Because that's not real authority. Remind you, we're dealing with minions. And when we talk about minions, it's the minimum atom, which is been lowered and had pretty much finite situations placed on him or her, but they're in a position of authority. They're in a higher position, but they're still finite. They have power, but their power is limited because other things are in control and stuff like that. And I started to find myself in some of these possession situations. And, we talk about demonic possession so much. And I try to reveal these situations so much to people because it's so much going on with us. We're sending our kids to school to be educated, and yet and still they're coming home with D's, F's, stuff that they shouldn't come home with. Some of them coming home with A's and B's, and they're not at A and B level. But it's a reason why. Because if I send them home with the F, you might have a child that's coming home with A's and B's, but if that teacher sent them home with an F, it will alert you that there is a problem, and you would be on guard, and you would start trying to fix the problem. But a lot of times our kids are coming home with A's and B's, and we still don't question, well, okay, let me go out here and check on this child. We automatically assume that the child is good when they're doing minimum, and they're not doing as well as they should be doing. So we don't check up on them. We don't look into situations going on with them because, they're A and B students, and being A and B students, they're great. But at the same time, they have a lot of stuff going on with them, around them, in their environment. They have peer influences and all this stuff. And this is the thing. What's going on with one child, you may look at your child, oh, my child is a good child. They do this and they do that. And it may not necessarily be so, because they're dealing with peer pressure. They're dealing with so many different things. And I can honestly say, in this society, we don't get to train our children. The world does. Because we're busy working. We're busy doing everything that we could possibly do. And even when we sit up there and we send them into church, because trust me, the church is full of wolves now. That's waiting to devour our children, waiting to attack our children, waiting to take our children through. Our children got an audience before they even were of age. Their innocence had been taken totally from them before they were of age. And I mean, this is not just the first generation that's going through it. We have had generations that go through it. And now our children are being taught to be less and be selfless. So that means I'm going to put somebody else before me because I'm selfless. And we have to remember, our kids aren't supposed to be selfless. How are you going to put somebody before you when you haven't even took care of you? You cannot afford the luxury of being selfless. You cannot afford the luxury of being less. That's a luxury of fortitude that you can't afford. You have to put yourself first. You have to sit up there and do what you have to do for yourself. And then, okay, now I can probably help somebody else. How much did you put aside to help somebody else? And then you help somebody else. But you don't afford the luxury of being able to do that without doing what you're supposed to do. But we're dealing with all of these different things. And we have to remember that they're going to cost us later on. They're costing us now. And they're going to cost us later on. The Word of God has so many secret codes and codings that has to be decoded. So many things that's going to come to you as an epiphany, and it's going to give you revelation, not just in your time, but in times to come. We have kings in the Bible that's called Nimrod. And then when you write that name backwards, it says born minimum. So we're dealing with an enslavement as well, where people are going through a state of confusion. And when they say God came down, let's think about who would have really wanted to have control of the people of God. Who would really want you naked? Who would really want you docile? See, God says, my plans is to exalt you. So we know that can't be of God, because God is in an exalting state. He wants to expand you. But we do have attackers that want to lower us, that wants us at our minimum, that wants us at our worst. But not one time did we take into consideration the extent in which they'll go. The way in which they'll go about it. Okay, they say that man was building a tower to heaven. And then came, and they called this tower the Tower of Babel, where man was able to use different languages. But I tell you, we're dealing with a matriarch society. We're dealing with a society that has technology, and this technology takes over humanology and has caused humans to be enslaved. And to actually deal with a society whose technology is so powerful that it can enslave one person and bring them to submission, and you think that you weren't born minimum? Because you got to think about it. Every time you have a baby, You ever seen the soft spot in the top of the head? And I'm starting to think that soft spot didn't just get there. And I'm starting to think that these blanking out stages that one may go through isn't just happening. And I'm starting to think that some of this stuff that's going on with us isn't just happening to us. I actually feel that there's a force and there's a people behind what's going on with us. They may look like us, but they ain't us. But we're going to be all right, though. But they may look like us, but they are not us. They look similar to us. We have the illusion that they're our people, but they're not our people. And now we're dealing with the cure for wellness. And I have divulged that to you as well, where they had created an eyeball, remind you. And the whole purpose of this eye was to actually give people sight and allow them the opportunity to see. We also have this thing where they're talking about their harvesting. And when I sit up here and I talk about it, that's part of the reason why I'm telling a lot of people not to be donors. Don't be donors, body part donors and liver donors and stuff like that, because there's so much going on with the cure to wellness, so it's ridiculous. You need to stay in your wholeness and your entirety and stuff like that, because you may think that you're done and you're moving on with your life, and you're not. You get what I'm saying? It'll only make things worse for yourself. And so we have this thing called the cure to blindness, right? And what happened was they built a technology that will allow the blind to see. It's an actual artificial eyeball, AI, artificial eyeball. It is the complete replica of a real eye. This has been starting to get installed into people that are blind eyes and giving them the opportunity to see. The only problem with this device is that it is technology, and therefore this technology can be hacked and can be infiltrated and can cause vision compromise. But it will allow you to see, and the ability of it is very great. You can see in dark, clear as all outdoors, light, clear as all outdoors. But if it is hacked, you can be compromised. Hearing, they have had the cure to hearing. Hearing doesn't just, a hearing aid isn't just the only way to actually be able to hear. You can hear in high def. You can hear stuff from miles and miles away. You can actually hear to a certain degree. If you have ever been deaf, they are able to sit up there and basically put a device into your ear, make it where you can hear and everything. But all of this is tactics connected to Born Minimum, which I would call Nimrod. And these tactics and devices that are connected with Nimrod is to make you dumb. Think about the name, Nimrod. And what would we call, man? You a Nimrod. You dumb as all outdoors. Now you're understanding what Nimrod really means. You were born less. You weren't as smart as you were supposed to be. And they would call them Nimrods and stuff like that, to say that they were dumb and stuff like that. But we know we know that Nimrod was considered a king, was considered powerful, was considered knowledgeable, was considered all-knowing, because in order to become a king, you first had to have what? Knowledge, or you would have been overthrown. So sometimes in our ignorance, we are powerful, but we are minions or Nimrods, meaning that we are being controlled by others without having the knowledge ourselves to know how to combat or resist them. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. A person may give you power, but when they give you power, they only gave you power because they just wanted you to be the image. They didn't really want you to run anything. So they pay you a lot of money to do nothing. They pay you good money and you sit there all day. And that's a Nimrod. Because guess what? They're paying you good money to do nothing, but they only got you as a pawn. You're only their pawn. You have really no significant value. You may be getting paid 50, 60, 70, $80 an hour just to be a Nimrod. Just to be dumb. It's up to you to occupy that time, how you're gonna occupy it. But truth be told, you may be just getting paid to be a pawn. You're a pawn in the game, a bigger game than you know, and we are at this point where we're not aware that we are being taken advantage of every day. And now we're at this point where God's starting to reveal to me as a woman of God, oh, this is the minimum. We had this age where women, and I'm not going to say black women, I'm not going to say white women, I'm not going to say Caucasian or Hispanic or Dominican or Haitian. I'm not going to say any cultures. All I'm going to say is this. You had this time where women were being taught to be prostitutes, mothers, and maids. Sometimes we call that mother part mammies and maids. All your job was to do is just take care of somebody else. All your job was to do is be sexual with men. All your job was to do is to bore children, barefooted, naked, and pregnant. All your job was to do was to sit up there and pretty much clean house all day and do these types of things, right? But you were so much more than that. So now you have that age trying to rear its ugly head, which made a woman the minimum. So now when women go on jobs to try to get a job, it's hard for them to get employment. So the rate of employment for women is way less than the employment rate for men. And then now you have men dealing with it because a certain group of men that are a part of this group that plans to take over and plan to do this, and you got a certain group of men that aren't. So the ones that are not, you see them going through so much. And some of them, even though they're going through, some of them are with them, but it's only to get them to a certain place. So be mindful of that. Just because they're going through doesn't mean that they're not with them. It just means that they're just trying to get them to a certain place where they can infiltrate something and stuff. We have churches that they have brought down to the minimum. Brought down. And it means to be brought down. And I remember doing my last testament, and I was telling you guys how they said, I think of myself as being too high and stuff like that. And I was just looking at it. I don't even have my own apartment. I'm staying in families' houses. I'm pretty much homeless. I really don't have anything to really offer, or whatever. And I just try to pay my family members a couple of dollars for living in their place and stuff like that. I really don't have nothing, honestly. But they sat up there and they told me that I need to be abased. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how much lower do I need to be? And obviously they're not looking at my life because I really don't have nice clothes. Nails not done, hair not done, toes not done, nothing done. But they say I need to be abased. And when I thought about it, I'm thinking to myself, I say, well, if they so desperate to abase me and I have nothing, they can't be seeing me. They got to be seeing God or something because I have nothing. They can't be seeing my life and what I'm going through because I have, when I say nothing, I mean nothing. So I started thinking about why was that they want me to have the minimum so that they can have more. And I know you guys been hearing this. I can't have if she have. If you can't have if I have, then it's not meant for you to have, because my having and your having doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me for you to have. It shouldn't bother you for me to have a little something. But it's bothering them because they want to be over you. They want to have authority over you. And this is the craziest part. A lot of them already have some of those authority things. Like some of them already powerful, already over you. You didn't even know that they was over you. You working on their job, but they still send talking about something I don't want them to have, and stuff I can't have if they have. But at the same time, they're over the job. So it's something's going on there. And then we got so many different things that's attacking us that we have to wake up to. When the Tower of Babel took place, the people scattered. They fled because they couldn't understand certain things. And then I started reading into certain stuff. Like I started looking at Spanish. Spanish isn't that far from English. As I'm learning the language, I'm learning Spanish. I'm learning that Spanish is like right there with English. I'm learning different languages, and for some weird reason, a lot of times when now it's getting to me when people speak Creole, it's like they're speaking English, and when they're speaking Spanish, it's like they're speaking English. And I don't know. All I say is God, but I don't know. It's like a second language and stuff like that. But then I'm still sitting up here looking at the Tower of Nimrod. And then I'm looking at all the stuff that I've been through. And this is my testimony. So I'm telling you, I'm looking at two sides to a situation. Because on one side, I might be expanding and I might think I'm almighty and I might be able to sit up there and translate to you what I'm feeling and speak to you. But then I'm looking at that side of me that is oppressed. I'm looking at that side of me that's comatose and it's not awakening. I'm looking at that side of me that's not moving and not doing what it's supposed to do. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't a coincidence that this happened, because I'm aware of it. At one time, I wasn't even aware that I was comatose. At one time, I wasn't even aware of the devices of Satan. At one time, I wasn't even aware that these people were actually kidnapping people and pretending to be that person after they kidnap them. But now I have awakened to a certain degree, and now we have them trying with our daughters, and our sons, because I want you little young men to know that they ain't just playing when they say they want you to prostitute yourself out as a young man. You are a man, and you must be a man of discipline. We are in war times right now. Hold to the word of God. Do not have sex with these young women. It takes two to have sex. And when you don't do it and you start waking up and you're like, man, I'm dealing with rape situations. I be waking up and my private area got issues and stuff like that. Then you're going to sit up there and you're going to say, well, there was one woman that used to minister that on YouTube that I was being raped, and you starting to see that they don't care. They will rape you. And stuff. And you're going to be like, well, I didn't know all this was going on and stuff like that. And you a man and you like, okay, I ain't touching nothing. How am I getting STDs and stuff like that? And you're going to be just like a woman would be. Well, if you ain't touched nothing, how you? And when you start seeing who's trying to cover it up, who's trying to hide it, and then you start saying to yourself, dog, I got to go and work for these people in order to have something. I gotta go and work around people that I know ain't what they supposed to be, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do to survive. You start to wake up to a whole bunch of stuff, and you're not gonna be happy about it. You're not gonna be happy about it, and that's that Nimrod stage. Cause trust me, you're gonna have to bite that pill. But then you're gonna have them say to you, "You're not low enough yet." And the reason why you're not low enough yet, because you chose to work instead of being homeless. The reason why you ain't low enough yet, you chose to shop instead of sitting there hungry. Reason why you ain't low enough yet, you chose God over all things, and you chose to hold to the commandments of God and not stray from the commandments of God. The reason why you ain't going through is because you choosing God over everything. Now, I'm going to tell you something I went through. I used to eat at the food pantries, and honest to God, and I know a lot of people don't know this, I used to eat at the food pantries and had to stop eating at the food pantries because I was being raped, and they whispering in my ear, oh, they raping me because I'm eating their food. And they're not going to tell you all this goes on. So if you don't work for what you want, you will never have it. But at the same time, I'm going to be real with you. Money has no significant value, but it's the answer to a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? It can buy you materialistic things, but it's not going to buy you any spiritual gifts. It's not going to give you what your heart really needs. It might give you your heart desire as far as materialistic thing. And that's how they're going to come with you. They're going to offer you materialistic things that can be easily taken away from you because it's theirs automatically. They're going to give you food and all money, food, clothes, cars, houses, and everything. But all that's theirs. You can probably sew your own clothes. You probably make your own fabric. You probably do all that stuff. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it's still going to be said it's theirs. It's not really yours. Even if you work for it, they're going to still try to state a claim on what you work for. If you go to Walmart and you buy a roll of fabric and you design your own clothes or whatever, they're going to still say, oh, that's ours. That's not hers. That's our clothes. That's our this. That's our that. So you guys have to keep in mind and be mindful. These people play a dirty, dirty game that can cost a person a lot in life. So be smart, be wise, and you're dealing with certain things. When you say selfless, no, you believe in yourself and you try to make yourself more. That's more than anybody around you, even the extensions that's beside you. Because guess what? I cannot help an extension that's connected to me if I'm not doing what I got to do for myself. So no, I'm not going to love you selfless. And no, I'm not going to be selfless. I'm going to be self more. I want more for myself. I want what's rightfully mine. I'm not going to be dominion because I want to do more. Do more. That's gonna be the end result. I'm gonna have more. I'm gonna do more because God has plans on expanding me. And if I don't study to show myself approved, and I'm not what I'm supposed to be, I will never get to where I want to be. I'm gonna be real with you. Everybody's trying to rush me to take my MPRE exam. I have been debating over this thing for quite some time, and I started thinking to myself. I said, well, this is a problem. Why is it a problem? Is God rushing you to take that, or man's trying to rush you? Are you prepared for it? Nah, I don't really feel prepared for it. I really don't feel like I'm where I need to be to take it. But everybody's trying to rush you to take it. And it's a reason why they want to rush you. They want you to hurry up and fail. And see, people do that all the time. What are you rushing that person for? I need them to hurry up and fail. And when you done failed, then they sit back and they talk because guess what? Now you're minimum. So your failures, they're rejoicing over because they have made you less than what you are. And you were predestined for greatness. God said, I have plans to expand you. Study to show yourself approved. Do what you have to do. Make sure you're in them books. Make sure you study and make sure you're doing everything that you can possibly do to expand yourself. And guess what? Here you are trying to halfway do it, and they're gaining knowledge. They're gaining wisdom. They're gaining understanding. I had it told to me, if you're going to I was doing like a IXL like type trainings and stuff like that, and these little online trainings where you just learn little stuff and stuff like that. And then it was ministered to me. Don't just do it and get like a 70, 80 on there. Do it to perfection. Do it to proficiency, 90 or better. If you ain't in 90 or 100 range, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So don't go out there embarrassing God and God's people and your extensions that's connected to you by not doing things the right way. Make sure you're on point. Hope these words encourage you. I'm going to do another video this afternoon because I want to talk about some of the other things that I've been going through and stuff like that. This is just God telling me to do more and stuff like that, not be Nimrod and stuff like that, born minimum, not be that type that's born minimum, but you were born